presentation on what has this whole COVID experience done for everybody. And we worked kind of hard to come up with a title, and we picked Life After COVID. And so we're going to go through a number of different points, and each of us will do a different part of the presentation. We're going to look at what are the bright spots, what has isolation shown shown us what we truly value. We're going to talk a bit about Tikkun Olam. We're going to talk about what has COVID-19 brought to the surface and what kind of changes can we make. And things like, are there worrying trends? What's the good news? And where do we go from here? So being the ever optimist, I'm going to talk about what are the bright spots. So as you saw from the video, that COVID-19 showed how quickly nature recovers when we're not there. I was in, last fall, I was in Venice, and let me tell you, the canals are quite cloudy, kind of like a swimming pool before you open it in the spring. Mm-hmm. And now the canals are very beautifully clear, and there's fish and dolphins and things I haven't seen in a long time. So the wildlife has certainly come out to play. There are, I'm on this chat group called Nextdoor, and there are coyotes showing up all over Thornhill, and there was one around the corner from my house. And so with less people around and less cars, we're seeing the wildlife is starting to say, oh, gee, we can do something. The other thing we noticed, and you might have seen it, is that overall air pollution has dropped dramatically all over. There's pictures of Beijing where normally it's quite smoggy, and it's very, very clear now. And unfortunately, as they start to rev up their economy again, it's gonna probably get smoggy again. I think we've all noticed the almost complete lack of traffic. I live near Yonge and Finch, and the TTC parking lot, which normally is absolutely jammed full. There's maybe 30, 40 cars now on a weekday. It's completely empty, and it's taken over with kids on skateboards, and I saw someone on inline roller skates doing what looks like one of these great ice skating routines. So the other thing is people are getting out and walking and cycling. And at the same time, people are more friendly. That I'm walking the dog twice a day with my wife, and people are waving, saying hello, we're keeping distance. But since everybody's going through the same thing, it seems that we are sharing these experiences, and it's made everyone a lot friendlier. I finally got to learn the name of a neighbor that's living 4 houses down from me. We waved, finally got to know their name. Other things like deaths from collision with cars have dropped dramatically. Noise pollution is down, and you can hear the birds a lot clearer. Normally from my house, I can hear the traffic on Yonge Street, but it's the birds waking me up in the morning now, and I rarely hear the sound of traffic. Other interesting things, as a result of the schools being closed, the cases of measles has dropped off to near zero. That the spreading of measles amongst unvaccinated children has completely stopped. And also the number of cases and deaths due to the regular flu has also dropped off as people are staying home. So, I mean, here we all are on Zoom. One thing that we have learned is we've learned technology, because otherwise we couldn't make it.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people who are learning how to use things for the first time. But the other thing that occurred to me, one thing that my wife and I do a lot is we go to the theater, we go to concerts, we both sing in choirs, and it's a big, huge gap. And so I would imagine other people have similar gaps. And how are they filling it in? I think the sudden rush to bake bread, the rush on yeast, the buying of 10-kilo bags of flour, it's getting people's creative and artistic side going. Getting your hands into dough really reconnects you with that creative side. Myself, I have a wood lathe in my basement. I've made 13 what I call pandemic bowls on the lathe, and given some to neighbors and one to my mailman. And I had someone who I knew from high school say, I've got some wood in my garage, make me a bowl. And I did. So another thing people are doing is gardening. That I usually buy my seeds from Vezzys and PEI, and they've reported at one point a 450% increase in seed orders as people are getting out and doing gardening. So even though we're isolated and we're trying to be as social as possible, there's a lot of things that we're doing to help and to make us feel better. So
can I make a
before
quick
we move on,
comment about the gardening?
Sure.
I think people will taste how much better the vegetables are from their own garden, and I'm wondering what the fallout from that will be.
Yeah. So does anyone have any comments? You should be able to unmute yourself.
I think.
Can we, Meyer?
I think everyone is unmuted.
Everybody is unmuted. I did not mute
well,
them. Everybody.
Okay, but
That's
they may have to go to up to one of the columns and click on unmute, because I see some of them are muted.
Maybe they want
So
to.
anyone have any comments?
Elaine and David are.
Many people are muted. So if you want to talk, could you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Hi, it's
Hi.
Kate here.
Okay.
For me, I'm in the country. When I moved from Richmond Hill and about two and a half hours away to the country, of course, I could only come into this school when I was in town and so on. And of course, not in a big center. So Zoom for me has given me much more contact. The knitting group, which I missed many times because I wasn't always in at the right time, I have every week, which is lovely. We chat, we schmooze. The coffee clutch is the other thing, all the things with the rabbi. I'm making Shabbos myself here. Now I make Kiddush with the rabbi, which is very lovely. And talk to people more. But I've seen also some other things. I mean, I'm also, because I'm more isolated too, I'm not getting to the stores or going out on purpose. Somebody's bringing food for me, which is lovely. But when I was out walking, there are some people who will keep their dogs away from others, and others who will let me have my puppy fix, which is my dog died. But one thing I noticed, and I think you'll find this with some very young children perhaps, there was one dog that I knew, he's 3 years old now, that we got along beautifully before, but now because he's on lead and being kept away from everyone, he barked at me and he was snapped at me if I wanted to say hello. So you're seeing that negative part, whereas other things are far more positive. So you get both parts. I don't know if you've seen that, But I remember seeing that with my daughter, the older one, when she was maybe 2. Joe came down very sick and was in bed and contagious. I had to keep her away from him. Well, once he was fine, she would have nothing to do with him for a while. Mommy, mommy, everything. And they were wonderful together before. And just that for some people, that isolation is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Get back with
Anyone else?
their animals.
Okay, anyone else have something they want to say about this point of, you know,
Linda's
what are the
got her-
bright spots?
Yeah, I just want to say that one thing is that I thought that I would miss terribly all the running around and going to classes and going to concerts or films or just go. And after a while, after the first few weeks, you kind of get to a place where I started having an appreciation for a more peaceful life. And of course, it's a lot easier now that we're into good weather. That helps unbelievably. It would be quite different in the winter, I suppose. But there is something about just having a little bit more peace and not to be constantly running.
Yeah.
I don't know what other
Tina-
I'm-
Tina Silver, you raised your hand? Yeah.
Yeah, I raised my hand. I just wanted to say, I actually heard today, and I don't remember which part of the court it is, but they were doing Zoom meetings that had to do with court cases. And I can't remember the official statement, but this department is actually considering staying that way. They're going to continue doing Zoom conferences, and I think that one of the positive things that will come from this, and maybe why there's less cars on the road, and even after COVID, hopefully, we will understand that we can use this technology to work from home just as well, if not better. And I think that will be a positive thing. It's positive now, like you said, for the traffic. It might actually make a difference, and that's something that might stick.
Linda's has had her hand up.
Yes, well, I'm quite enjoying this. I feel very fortunate that I have a house with a garden. I've been busy with my garden and sit out in it, or, try and get out for walks as much as possible. I think the summer is just lovely to connect with nature, and I love to see the little animals, and I've had a bunny come by a few times, as well as the squirrels and birds. It's really nice. I've been working from home on a video site with my patients. It's been working really well. I do have patients who've asked me to go back to the office, and I'm saying no, not yet. And I spoke to Tanya today at the office and mentioned that I've been participating in shul services every week, and talks like this and Friday nights. I absolutely love Shabbat services out in my garden, and I don't think I'd be running back to shul if we opened up in the summer. Now, the winter's a different story because you feel very shut in, but I've been quite enjoying this. Now, on the downside, my opera company canceled its season. I don't know if and when we'll get, running again. But there are some fun things going on. I just participated in a virtual choir with the Canadian Opera Company, and apparently people from 42 countries were involved. And our opera company is planning some virtual thing as well. So there are kind of fun things that you can get involved in, which kind of keeps you moving and motivated. So
Question is, will those things continue afterwards? Because now they're doing.
It's
probably not those things, because
So
they'll be
that's-
busy with their seasons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all well and good, but what's going to happen when COVID is over and things will go back, or should they go back, or whatever? So yes, these are things that we're enjoying, I guess, the solitude, whatever you want to call it. However, what is happening? I think one thing that working from home will reduce the number of cars, so that's a positive, we hope. but maybe it should be even more. It should be restricted to bring cars downtown. So
Yeah.
we got to look at, yes, everything we're saying is terrific and good, but eventually, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, we're going to come out of this. And one thing, mentioning about going to shul, I'm on the other side. To me, I would prefer to go and see a person in their flesh, and see them in 3-dimension as opposed to 2-dimension. So these are things that we got to look for. We should look forward to see if we carry them on.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things. One, Mayor and I attended an AGM meeting the other day, and there are 180 possible people who can attend, and about 115 attended. So that was the best attendance ever. And of course, all these people live all over Ontario, so there was a great attendance, and I think that's going to continue in the future. Plus the fact that the cost of renting a venue and providing refreshments and all that was saved was also an incentive. And the other thing is, like, our daughter and our grandchildren live in Waterloo, and we can't always be together with them for Friday night or Yontif. So now we have been doing Friday night together on Zoom. So we wish we could be together, but that's worked out really nicely with being able to do things and lighting candles and challah and all that together. So that's been a real joy, and no driving and no highways involved. So I'm happy about that.
All right. I think what we want to do is move on to the next point, which Gloria, you're going to present, which is, what did COVID-19 isolate show us what we truly value?
Oh,
Over
thanks.
to you.
Okay. I think Elaine already mentioned one, that we value a less hurried life where we can have more time with friends and family and introspection. Of course, that's all online. It's all virtual. I think we have to point out that teachers might have had, and those who are performing essential services don't experience that less hurried life, but are actually being overwhelmed. But we're showing that their value has become a lot more evident, the healthcare workers and the personal support workers. And they were just sort of there, and there was, a lot of noise about how poorly they were paid and how underfunded the long-term care homes are. But now that's put to the forefront. And all this walking in parks and sitting in parks and hiking along nature trails, it's exploded, I think, and hopefully that will lead to better protection of these areas and more value put on preserving them and restoring them. I think we also appreciate the research scientists who have been investigating and researching, what is this virus all about? Because they had to start from scratch, and they've done so much in just a few months. And there are physicians also who have been working around the clock and bringing new treatments to the COVID disease and saving patients. One example was a physician, I think it was an Italian one, that was, and his method was picked up by a doctor in the States, where he tries to keep patients off ventilators, which is a very difficult state to be in, by making sure that they're moving more, and rather than staying in one position, because that's a lot better for your lungs, to clear their lungs. And once patients are on ventilators, they're able to get them off faster too. So there's been a better outcome for everybody who's contacted the disease and experienced bad symptoms. And we mentioned the, missing the concerts and the operas and visiting maybe art galleries and so on. But what it has shown is that how much we value the art that has been made available. When musicians have come up with new music and that has lifted our spirits, soothed us. We've got new poetry. We look at old poetry that comfort us.
Mm-hmm.
And we value the visual artists who feed our aesthetic needs. And then there are the designers and the innovators and the entrepreneurs who've created new designs and solutions to the challenges that COVID has presented us. Joel, can you show that picture of the mannequins? Do you have that available?
No, I don't have that.
Okay, you may have seen, yeah, go ahead.
Well, what's interesting is I have a picture of, it's from BlogTO, of what a woodworker has done to set up a restaurant for reopening. And instead of just putting up ugly barriers, they did a lovely job. Are you interested in seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, hang on, give me a second here. It's on Safari. And no, not that one, this one. So you can see here, you see that instead of putting up barriers, they took old window frames. And this is obviously a pedicure place. And there's an example of real craftsmanship that has come out of a need to deal with a problem. There's another picture here. There, it's a little bit, you can see a bit more. Obviously, this is a nail salon. But instead of doing something ugly, here they had all these beautiful picture frames and or window frames and mounted them in a rather nice artistic way. And I can see that staying there after the virus is gone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another example. I guess this is where they do nails or something. And you can see they got these windows all hanging.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really neat, innovative approach to solving a problem. Okay, let me stop the share here.
Oh, do you have the one with the penguins?
Okay, I got another cutie. Hold on.
So while you're looking for it, I want okay. Maybe I should.
Right.
I just wanted to say what you said about creativity. It's not just artistic creativity. People are finding solutions for things, including me. I'm amazed that you find solutions for things that are creative. You can't go out and buy it. You're doing something different, and there's so much creativity through this, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the other neat thing is that some of the zoos have found that the animals are getting bored. They usually watch all the people walking by.
Right.
So there's an example. I'm going to play this video at the Humboldt Museum. They brought penguins in to come and look at the art.
So happy to welcome our colleagues from the zoo, and they brought special friends, and actually we're seeing how they're reacting to art.
Take care of wild animals in New York City Zoo. We're looking for ways to enrich their lives and stimulate their days. And during this shutdown period, our animals really miss having visitors come out and see them.
There are also, the Chicago Aquarium has posted pictures of the penguins visiting the aquarium and interacting with the whales and other sea creatures from behind the tank.
That picture is just
We were
hilarious.
happy to visit, and the penguins absolutely were.
Now, penguins are very lucky because they seem to be letting penguins wander around places where they don't allow, the tigers out to do the same thing.
Okay. All right. I thought that would give everyone a chuckle.
Yeah.
Just go off to YouTube and look for things like that, where some of the penguins are allowed through an aquarium area to look at the other animals. And it's really quite fascinating to see.
I don't think I was inside the museum, but I've been on the grounds, and they're wonderful. They have a large expanse of land. They have a sculpture area, and it's been several years, but I just remember being very impressed by the surrounding grounds, landscaping, and so on.
There was something in the press yesterday in the sports pages about sports coming back with nobody in the stands, and how deadly boring it's going to be just watching the players, whether it be a baseball game or a hockey game, with no noise. And somebody has developed an app where when you're watching a game, you can scream what you want into the app, and you'll get immediate feedback. Up to 150,000 people can be watching it, and you get the noise. So you get the noise of the sport going on, and that'll make it more interesting than just watching a quiet game.
Okay. All right. So so it's really shown, the things that we value. Another point is how have we brought Tikkun Olam to the forefront during this time? And I mean, we've certainly experienced a different world. We talked about how people are smiling at each other and so on, but we're seeing some groups like volunteering to prepare meals for seniors. We're seeing retired nurses putting on their protective gear and going to work in retirement homes where the virus really has hit the worst. And it seems there's more stories about that showing up than horrible stories about people dying. And I like to read those parts in the newspaper. And so I'm going to ask people to say, so what can you do? What do you think we can do to use the concept of Tikkun Olam and expand out from just our close family and relatives? Are there things that we should be doing that the experience of living with this virus has brought to us?
One thing that the virus has made me think about more is about where our food comes from. And certainly in terms of Tikkun Olam, we have stories about outbreaks among migrant workers and who are not being paid well and not having access to medical treatment. And I think about factory farming of meat and bringing it in from long distances instead of having naturally raised animals and buying more local. Also in terms of Tikkun Olam, when we've had these CERB type programs from the federal government, I think it's brought to the fore a little bit more thinking about having a universal basic income and how that might play out. So I'm just tossing in a bunch of different things. There's more, but that's all I'll say right now.
Yeah, we've become aware of how poorly people are cared for in the long-term care homes because of budget cuts from the province, which happened in the last year and probably have been ongoing, and how poorly the workers are paid, and their need to work in more than one facility to earn a living. So that's facilitated the spread of this virus and other diseases. And we didn't seem to have learned from SARS, where the nurses were spreading the virus from one hospital to the other, because they also were not being given permanent positions, because with permanent positions you get lots of benefits, but if you're just a part-time worker, they disappear. And I think also what's become evident is that for many, work is currently a dangerous occupation, because we've seen meat packing plants have to close because all of a sudden the virus has spread among the workers, and those living in close quarters, not just it's the migrant workers, but also people incarcerated in jails, in sharing homes, bedrooms in the long-term care homes, and those in poverty, and the Aboriginals and the Inuit. They've all been faced, when an outbreak occurs among one of them, it spreads very quickly. I think we've also seen how important childcare is to allow parents to work and to contribute to the economy. And we've become aware of the homelessness, and we were always aware, but we didn't seem to focus on their plight. But I think there are some good things that are happening now as a result of what has been exposed and brought to light.